That was like a very whimsical countdown. Can I just say, like, it was like the music was so calming. I kind of felt like we needed to do a meditation.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, now we've done our meditation for the day, and I do need to talk like this. Welcome to What Could Go Wrong Live Coaching Edition. We are unqualified.
We are unqualified in the most calming of ways.
If we say it like that, does it make it better? We are unqualified.
Breathe in the unqualifiedness and release your qualifications.
Your qualifications mean nothing.
Let them all go. No one cares what school you went to or what paper is on your wall. It means nothing. It's all made up.
I like this. This could be a new thing.
We really should be doing this as like, daily affirmations of like the real kind, like the salty affirmations.
Ooh, salty affirmations.
You do not have to work with buttholes.
Ooh, I like that one.
The individuals, not the things.
Correct. I mean, you do have, that's a different.
Unless you're a proctologist, in which case you do have to.
You do. What were we talking about again? I mean, okay, let's just start with buttholes, shall we? I would concur that we are indeed unqualified to be proctologists. Would you concur?
I absolutely agree with that statement. And if anyone tried to hire me as their proctologist, the answer would be a hard no.
Has this been a concern of yours in the past where you were concerned that people would approach you in hopes that you would be their proctologist?
This is a conversation that could go in very wrong directions because let's just change the topic.
I mean, Kevin's not even here to like run with that in some super weird way. I feel like he would have a really fantastic time.
There would be a story.
Like, y'all, this one time, like, let me just tell you. Remember the time you told me the story about buying shoes in Japan or something like that?
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
He would have been great for also participating in the unqualified conversation.
I know. Why isn't he here?
I don't know. It's fine. He might just show up.
We'll see.
So, all right. Let's have the discussions. First, I feel like it's important that we actually clarify what it is that we are unqualified to do. And I also vote that you have to go first.
Okay, so like, which is a smaller list though? Things that I'm unqualified for or things that I'm qualified for?
Okay, let's start with what do you do?
What do I do? Okay, so the thing that I do is I am a career strategist and content creator. So I create a lot of content to help you get through a lot of sticky work situations, toxic workplaces, that kind of thing.
Situations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of those out there. So there's a lot for us to talk about in that regard. And so that's the thing that I actually do. Now, am I qualified to do it is something that I guess we're going to figure out over the course of this conversation.
I mean, don't read the little banner on the bottom because that might give away.
I know, it's spoiler alert.
It's unfortunate.
The chat is like moving. So many friends.
I'm trying to keep up with it in two places. It's fine. Hey, friend.
You're a better individual because I give up on it whenever I run a stream.
I mean, what's up, Isama and Gabe? Let's see, who else have I missed?
William is here.
Well, there are a bunch of lurkers because I see 11 people are currently here and only like 3 of them are talking. So, hey, lurkers. Hi, friends.
It's okay. You can say who you are. You can drop a like. Do something. It's not outing yourself for being qualified or unqualified. It means you're unqualified curious if you're here.
Unqualified curious. Oh my gosh, I'm scared.
Or should it be qualified curious? I don't know. You're just curious about it. It's fair.
So, well, that's fun. Speaking of that, So my role is interesting because I'm currently, hey Eduardo, what's up? We are doing well. It's great for you to be here. Thanks for not being a lurker. What's up, Chris? Grits, friend, you? Okay. Now the lurkers are coming out of the shadows. So I do things with people, mostly up until now or still now. Hang on, I have words. I do education things. I work in educational spaces.
Yeah.
And all of that. What's up, Andrew? I'm unqualified, but cooking? Will you cook for me? Can it be brownie?
Are you qualified to cook? And desserts or dinner? Because both are necessary things that we need to know.
These are things. These are important.
Yeah.
We're just missing Kevin. We have us a pop-up snark squad.
I know. Facts.
That is true. That is true. Poor Kevin.
We're only quasi snark today.
That's true. Yeah. Marcus, hey, could you distill my job description to I work with people and some stuff? I mean, I do. I'm not wrong. It's an accurate statement. Okay. All right. So let me finish that statement. So I work with people in education. That's like my passion thing that I've done all the things in. I work with education systems and stuff in leadership and growth mindset and curriculum and legislation and like all things education. I do that.
Yeah.
And then recently I thought, I would like to do other things. And then I started talking with my friends, both of them, Kevin and Jennifer. It was like, hey, my both friends, like, wouldn't it be fun if I took my experiences of working with learners and working with leadership people and, working with myself, hi, Ariel, hello, beautiful, and use that to empower other people. And both my friends were like, I think that would be a great idea. And really, that's a consensus because I asked two people, both of them said that would be good, and all two of my friends agreed. And so now I'm doing, it doesn't have a name. I help people make their life suck less. So,
that's a good thing to do for people, though. I think. Like, who doesn't want their life to suck less? Like, tell me in the comments if you want your life to suck more, because in that case, Chelsea is not going to be the person for you.
I'm unqualified to make your life suck more. That's probably not true. I probably could do that too.
For the right individual.
For a very special human, we could make that happen for you.
That is true.
So I think, all right. So then, Jenny, you are the career bestie.
Yes.
Okay.
I try.
And Marcus, consulting, life coach, that is so much less interesting to say than I make your life less sucky. Also, I really like using the word sucky because as a child, I wasn't allowed to say suck or you suck or that sucks or anything like that. So I feel very like rebellious in my adult years, getting to just say sucky as a part of my job description. So there's that. It's fine.
I mean, I think it's a good LinkedIn headline. I make your life suck less.
Right?
Because it's reasonable, it's catchy, and who doesn't want their life to suck less? Let's face it. Life is going to suck in some regard, in some way, at all points in your life. I can tell you, I have a very good life, and there are things today that suck. So you're never going to totally do away with it. So you don't want to overpromise. Like, you want to set a reasonable expectation and over-deliver. And I mean, I feel like you can over-deliver or at least meet expectations on making things suck less.
And that's also non-quantifiable, right? I can make your life suck less, but it's non-quantifiable, so I'm going to win.
How does one measure?
Okay.
You're going to need some skill, like assessments involved, some quizzes.
That sounds a lot like traditional education, which I have a whole different theory on.
Oh,
we won't get into that. Not being able to say suck does suck. Girls, thank you. Girls. Thanks for bringing that up. I didn't know two people was a consensus. I've lived my life so wrong. You're welcome. See, already your life sucks.
Yeah.
Imagine going to surgery and that's the last thing you hear your surgeon say, I'm unqualified, as you doze off with anesthesia. Listen, there are certain jobs that require knives and anesthesia and proctology.
Yeah.
I definitely concur that there should be some like formal knife use, needle use training. Okay?
Yeah. And in my experience, you find out that they're not qualified later on. Like when I had my epidural and they couldn't like thread it properly, and I was like, okay, so you just don't know what you're doing. And then they brought in the doctor who knew what they were doing. It was just lovely. I didn't care at that point. I was like, as long as the drugs end up in my body, we're gonna be okay.
Oh boy. Oh, I'm having like a moment. I'm just having a moment right now.
Just live on the internet. No pressure whatsoever. It's no big deal. You're in a safe space. 50% of your friends are here because I'm here.
Where's Kevin? God. Man, we did not.
Somebody take that man.
Somebody call Kevin. Get the boy here. Okay. So, career bestie.
Yes.
How did you become career bestie? An unqualified career bestie? Like, what led you down this road? You know what song I want to sing while I'm asking you this question? Do you remember that like Rascal Flatts song where he was singing about ooh, God bless the broken road and let me pray to you. Is that how it went? Like you were really excited of all the broken pieces and led you straight to.
So how far should we go? Let's like go all the way back, because I feel like this is such a necessary part of the story, is that my original intention was to become a criminal defense lawyer.
Obviously.
And that was like just the thing I decided I was going to do when I was 6, like based on nothing. Like I didn't know any lawyers. I'd never been to court, never seen a courtroom. I just decided that I was going to help people by being a criminal defense lawyer.
I like right? That seems completely 100% logical.
And it's so normal for like a 6-year-old to want to do that. Totally. So I just kind of stuck with it until I like basically got into law school. So I studied criminology because it let me study criminal law, because in Canada, there's not a formal pre-law track. So a lot of people that want to work in criminal law do criminology or sociology or psychology. So I did a degree in criminology, wrote the LSAT, probably could have been enrolled in 2 schools if I didn't ghost my law school applications, because I worked in a law firm for like a practicum, which is kind of like an internship, but it's graded. And then I did just like a year volunteering. And I was like, I had the realization of like, oh, I actually don't want to be a criminal lawyer, because I would be fulfilled, but I would be a miserable human being.
Can you be fulfilled and miserable at the same time? I thought miserable was the opposite of fulfilled.
So I was really fulfilled in the work that I did, because you are still getting to, represent people who are in like at least the firm I was in, it was like 50% was legal aid cases. Mm-hmm. Vast majority of people were experiencing homelessness, addiction. They were victims themselves of kind of society.
Okay. Yeah.
And so you were giving people a voice who didn't have a voice, but then you just realized that it was just like all like a bargaining chip. It was a game, and the people and the players didn't really matter. So it just like, it was fulfilling when you could actually like register and make a difference in someone. Like when you actually had someone come into the system that an intervention and, the right sentence would actually support them to succeed in life. That was not most of the people though. And, some of the cases, like I won't get into because it's like triggering for people, but it was just like, I would be professionally fulfilled. I would absolutely find a lot of meaning in doing it. But I was in one particularly sensitive case. I was at the sentencing hearing, and like the lawyer I worked with and the Crown prosecution, so like the DA kind of version in Canada, were like making jokes about the type of case. And it was a case that involved like a young child. And I was like, I never want to be that person. Mm-mm. Like that was just hard.
Yeah.
And so I was like, before I went to law school, I was supposed to take a gap year and just move to Ireland and have fun. And I got to Ireland and I'm like, oh, I don't actually want to come back from here. and I want to travel, and I can't do that as a lawyer. So I'm just not going to go to law school. Like, I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to do the thing. So WTF am I going to do with my criminology degree?
So Ireland broke your whole plan. Let's blame Ireland.
Was just like, Ireland changed my life. I met my husband there. I just like figured myself out in a way that I didn't realize or anticipate. Like, I clearly remember being on the plane, and one of the women sitting next to me in the row was chatting with me, and she lived half of her year in Vancouver and half in Italy, in Florence, like where her family was from. And she's like, you are going to be a totally different person over there, and you're just going to discover a whole bunch. I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. I know myself. Like, I am no one else. And like, then like a month later, I was like, oh, so this is what she was talking about. She wasn't full of it. So I don't remember her name, but I'm eternally grateful for that little heads up. So I do.
Maybe she's watching.
I mean, in some like karmatic moment, I hope to like encounter her again, to thank her. I don't even think I would remember what she looks like, but you know, it could happen.
It would be amazing. It would be
so cool. It would be so cool. So yeah, I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. What am I going to be? And then I went on what I describe as my career walkabout. So I worked in accounting. I worked in human like resources. I worked in like recruitment and recruitment sales. And then I found my kind of path in software training. And I thought I was going to do that forever until I moved here. And then I was like, oh, actually, I want to be more than a trainer. And then I figured out how to like get career trajectory. Then I did the whole corporate ladder thing. Very exciting. I worked in tech, which makes total sense with your criminology degree, as one does.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it's like having a history degree, and like
I mean, what else are you going to do with such things? So, you know, you work in client-facing roles or semi-technical roles like I did, which is like what qualified you to be in a semi-technical role, teaching people how to write code. I don't know. I just figured it out.
Just wing it. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? You can like get really angry at code because you don't know what you're doing, but you'll figure it out at some point.
That's what YouTube is for.
This is true if it wasn't a proprietary coding language.
Also that. It's fine.
You're like, I don't know what that is. So let's just carry on. So I did like the career thing. And then I got really, my goal was never to work in a company. Like when I thought I was going to be a lawyer, I thought that I would have my own practice. When I started down the career corporate path, I was like, oh, I'll work this side, because one of my first experiences was working with consultants. So it was an IT recruiting firm, but it was specialized in sourcing people for contract work. And I saw the rates and stuff. I'm like, oh, like that looks pretty cool. They get to work on different things. They get a lot of money. Like that's my goal. At some point, I want to be able to do that. Like I'll become a project manager or something. So my end game was always to do my own thing. It just like, I wanted to learn how to do it on someone else's dime. And then it finally got to the point that I was like, okay, I really need to stop working for other people. So I should go and work for myself. But WTF am I going to do?
Yeah. And who's going to pay?
As one does. Well, so the good thing about doing things the way that I did was that I had the financial run room to self-fund and to go a certain amount of time with like zero revenue, because that's where you start when you start a business. And especially when you start a business and you don't know what that business does.
Correct. I can speak from very recent and personal experience on this.
It's like, I am qualified to give my opinion on that because experience.
Correct. Yes. I mean, when I lost my job, when our school closed due to COVID, and I've been a director for like my entire adult life, and it was like, well, now what? And people were like, you can go get another director job. That sounds really easy. You're totally qualified. I am qualified to be a director in the state of Texas. I have all the little papers to say the things and do the stuff. People were like, you should go do that. That makes the most sense. And I was like, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, just because something makes sense doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Or that it's interesting.
Yeah.
Which is really the most important part, you know, for me at that point was, that sounds boring. I've already done that. And I did it really well, if I don't say so myself. So ready something else.
Good at something doesn't mean that it's the thing.
It's true.
Being qualified and being good doesn't mean that you need to do the thing. Like, you can be good I just put up a poll post to like help promote this, and it's like, I am competent. Like, I have the know-how to fix my leaky shower. Now, does it mean I have fixed my leaky shower? No. But even more important, does it qualify me to fix other people's leaky showers? And should I actually do that? And the answer is a definitive no. I do not enjoy fixing leaky showers. I enjoy using non-leaky showers, but not as much as I hate fixing leaky showers.
This is true. Yeah. Okay, so you've quit your job. You are now flying blind with a company that is making zero revenue and zero idea of what you're doing. I feel like that's where we left off.
There is and I mean, what better position to be in?
Yeah, I agree.
So the cool thing about it, though, is when you are in that position, is that really like everything is an option. So I got very overwhelmed. Like, I was ready to start 20 different companies doing 20 different things. And I had a few different iterations. Like, I was like, okay, unlike you, like, okay, the thing that makes sense is for me to consult on the job that I was doing. So I could work with startups and teach them how to create customer success organizations. Would I enjoy it? Absolutely not. That was really boring at that point to me, but I was really good at it. But luckily, I did work with a coach who like helped me tap into the thing like I actually wanted to be doing, which was helping people succeed in their career and defy the odds and break down barriers and BS at work. And I ended up being like, F it, I'll just give it a try. Like, worst case scenario, it's not going to work. And then I'll go and do one of those things or co-found a company. And like, there's all sorts of safety nets all over the place, right? So I started a YouTube channel, started doing that, started working with people, and it just kind of like has snowballed from there.
I mean, now you have like a bajillion people on your YouTube channel.
Not quite a bajillion, but like, yeah, there's definitely a good crew of people that hang with me over there. And it was interesting because the thing that when I became a manager at work, like, I hated managing people. I didn't want to manage people. I don't like to deal with people. Like, I always have been in client-facing roles, but it's not my favorite thing. I like solutions. I like creativity. But what I ended up really enjoying as a people manager was actually mentoring people on my team and other people within the organizations I work for. And I was in the training world for a really long time. So like, I was the person who was like building out different like professional development programs. So it wasn't like, oh, like, I guess I'll just give this thing a try. It was like, okay, I've done this before within organizations, but is there interest in this outside of an organization? And is this something that people like will invest their attention to? So that's YouTube. And then like, will people invest their time and their money on it as well? And that has turned out to be true as well.
So when did you start this situation?
2 years ago, just over 2 years ago is like when I went to market. Yeah. So,
and what was your first, like, did you like your first content? Was it a YouTube video and you just went from there?
So I wrote like terrible posts.
Where though? Was it on LinkedIn?
Here, and probably Facebook. Like, don't deep scroll, you guys.
I'm writing it down. Like, deep scroll.
Keep on going. The thing is, LinkedIn makes it so hard
before I get very far, because I'll be like squirrel, but you know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like, I mean, the content that from the time that I decided to do that, my actual focus was always YouTube, because I was doing some stuff and I was like making posts on like Instagram and stuff. Because, you know, that's what you're supposed to do when you start a business. You start doing social media and you get a website and stuff like that. But anyways, I hated the fact that everything that I created disappeared on every platform. So I wanted something that stayed searchable, but also something that allowed me to go deeper. Because I don't know if you've noticed this about me. I'm superficial in many, many, many ways. But when it gets into the topic of like passion for me or topic of interest, like, I like to go deep into it.
Yeah.
And so long form content was really like a good fit for me. So I wasn't jazzed to be on video, but I was jazzed to put the content out. So I decided to focus on YouTube as like it is still my base. LinkedIn is my side chick, and I'm trying to like start a thing with Instagram, and I had a little fling with TikTok.
I mean, can we talk about TikTok for a second? Because I don't know what happened. I don't know how you and I had this conversation. Like, did I initiate the conversation?
I don't know.
You did. You did it because you were like, I have an idea for TikTok. And then you sent me that video and I was like, that's fun. I can make one of those like Jenny. And then I downloaded it. And then it's all downhill. Like that thing is straight up built for the mind of an ADHD child. And it's like next. And if I get bored, they're only like 17 seconds long. And if it's over 17 seconds, I just scroll and like, what is happening?
Well, and TikTok, the thing that TikTok does so well is it really starts to figure out what you want to watch. So your For You page, like I rarely skate by something that comes up on my For You page because I'm like, no, it's going to be something I want to watch. Like it's super duper rare. They like have nailed it in terms of discovery, like better than any platform but LinkedIn is a disaster. YouTube needs so much content. Instagram and Facebook are like basically pay to play if you want to get in front of eyeballs, but TikTok is just like you put it out there. And when they know it resonates and they got like, and they do like little sample sizes of data and they like work their way up. But
I watched TikTok about that.
When they figure you out, they have you figured out in a scary way.
Oh boy. So yeah, since yesterday was my first TikTok day. No, the day before yesterday was day one for Chelsea on TikTok. I'm like seven videos and I'm messaging Jenny, how many videos? Because it's so perfect for me because one, like sometimes my brain works so fast, I can't remember the content that I just wanted to create for the previous content because I've already moved on to the next piece of content. Yeah. So if it gives me like those little sound bite thingies that I can just create and then put my own caption, like it is the most efficient type of content creation I have ever experienced. And it's just a beautiful place that is going to suck my life away from me. And I blame you for that. And when I need career coaching because I'm living in a box on the street, you will be my career.
Go to my TikTok, like, and just deep scroll through my TikTok. It's fine.
Eduardo, I refuse to watch Social Dilemma because I have enough of my own anxieties that I do not need anyone else's facts to like trigger those for me. And increase that situation. So thanks for the referral, but I will not be participating in that.
Yeah. I mean, like the long and short is like they just want you to be on the platform. So they exploit you psychologically speaking to get you to stay.
Don't we all though? Isn't that what marketing is? It's fine.
It's 100% what marketing is.
We've made it this far. Okay. So you are 2 years into your
2 years in
business.
Yep.
Tell me now, where are you now?
Well, with this slight hiatus because of the whole pandemic thing and having children with no childcare. Like that wasn't a big deal or anything, but that's for another conversation. So yeah. And then, so I ended up, especially on YouTube, a lot of my content was just around workplace dysfunction because there was not like when I was in a bad work situation, like I remember like Googling, like, how do I work with people I hate? Like, is my boss a psychopath? And I really struggled to find the content. Like, honestly, like I think it was Mindy. I like sent her like screenshots of the books that I like took pictures of. Like, because when I was on business trips, I would go into bookstores and look around and I would just take pictures of the books I wanted to buy for my Kindle. And it was like literally like how to work with people you don't like. Yeah. And I was like, this is not like I really wanted to know, but taking time to read books was really hard. But I have always been someone, like, I've just been such a nerd. I wanted to be on YouTube for 10 years before I actually got on YouTube. So I was like, I'm just going to create the videos that I was looking for. And I mean, I did invest time. So, like, to be clear, I didn't happen upon this and by chance these videos took off. There's a little bit of luck involved. But I researched it. Like, I got a YouTube coach. I figured out how SEO worked on YouTube, how to figure out if it was like a video that I could compete for attention and all of that stuff. So, like, a lot went into it. But the holes that I saw were the exact holes that I experienced. And that was that no one was really addressing office politics, coworker issues, issues with your boss and toxic workplaces specifically. And toxic workplace content does really well for me there because it's such a big problem that, like, no one is addressing.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is that obviously I've now, the vast majority of my clients have been in toxic workplaces, have recently escaped toxic workplaces, or are in the process of escaping toxic workplaces. And it's just ended up becoming somewhat of a niche for me, that's the thing that I do. So that's what led me to create like the toxic job detox program and stuff like that, because it's such a big problem and it's so like misunderstood. And having had a toxic work experience, I remember just being like so blindsided by everything that I went through and having no idea what was going on. I was like, am I like completely abnormal? Like, I'm having panic attacks. I was hospitalized at one point. Like, it was not normal, but I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't even have the terms at the time.
Right.
So like, I hope that my channel just provides like space for people to understand it, to feel normal, and like to find a community of people that get it. And like that they can actually get the support that like I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing here all those years ago.
It really sucks when you find yourself in a situation and you don't even know what to Google. Like,
right.
What am I supposed to be searching to help me find like this next step? Is really hard. I have found myself in those situations before, and that's never a fun thing to be.
Well, and it's the internet. So like, since our theme is like qualified, unqualified, there's a lot of bad advice on the internet, which is going to be shocking because you should be able to trust what you find on the internet, right?
That's what I heard. I
trust everything that I read, especially if it's a Facebook post that's gone viral. I'm like, oh yeah, that's legit.
Yeah. Oh.
So with a little bit of irony, I'll say that like, even if you can figure out what to search for, finding good advice and advice that is by people who are actually informed is a whole other struggle.
Yeah. And so I think like to get all the way down to our point is you're looking at these parameters of qualified versus unqualified. And someone had said, or actually two things. So this morning I was scrolling through TikTok, as I do now. Thank you.
That's your morning routine.
I'm looking for content to create. Okay. Yes. It's part of my job.
Research.
It's more work. All right. I'm writing it off. I don't know how. It's fine. So there was someone who has her channel that she talks a lot about like narcissistic abuse, you know, and what it feels like, what it looks like, and that type of thing. Yeah. And she did a post this morning about like people making comments to her saying, you have no space to talk about this because you're not a psychiatrist, psychologist, you don't have these training to talk about these things, whatever. And it was kind of her rebuttal in saying, you know, how many of the psychiatrists who are trained to deal with this have experienced being stuck in a relationship of that type, which I think is the question, right? Yes, you can have training, but I think it's the difference between rote learning and experiential learning. If we want to get a little educational, there's two very different things. I can sit in a class and learn about narcissistic behavior, what it feels like as the abused and the abuser, and what to do and all those types of things. But you've never actually sat in the seat of an abuser, which completely changes your perception on it, your ability to relate to the people who are dealing with it, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, that's the question I would say that we're posing, right? Who is more qualified in that sense? Qualified, the psychiatrist or psychologist or whoever who has the degrees, or the person who has been through and safely removed herself from a narcissistic relationship. Like,
yes.
who's allowed to speak on that?
And well, one of the things that like, I think that in that case, like both people are qualified, but they're qualified in different ways to do different things. Like most of the people that I work with, and if they're not already, there's many that I encourage to do so. Most of my clients are working with a therapist because most of them have been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and or PTSD.
Yeah.
As a coach, that is not what I help with. And there might be additional tools that you need to be working with a therapist and with your doctor in order to have access to. So there's not, I feel like, especially when we're talking about like the really sucky life situations, it's not, I'm going to do this one thing. It's that I need support to process. I need support to get by and survive. But then I need support to help me get from here into my ideal life, my ideal career, whatever the problem is, right? My ideal relationship. So, and a psychiatrist isn't going to be like a dating coach.
Yeah.
But like someone who is helping people navigate like a bad like relationship is also probably going to help you frame yourself to be in a positive and productive relationship going forward, right? Like I assume it's not just like, oh yeah, let's repeat that insanity.
Let's do that again. That was fun.
Let's do that again. And I also think like, at least in my experience, is that I've heard stories from people that have worked with, you know, medical professionals who didn't understand what they had been through in a toxic workplace. It's like, yeah, you had a bad job. Like there's a lot of that. It gets brushed off a lot. And it's like, oh yeah, this is like NBD. And I think same thing, like if you're talking about just like any relationship, because toxic workplace, we're often dealing with personality disorders, narcissist, borderline personality, psychopaths, not diagnosing anyone, of course. But there is the difference between the tactical support that you need and the person who gets it because they've been there and they know all of the ditches that you're going to fall into, because they fall into the ditches all by themselves. So they know to warn you, and they know they've developed tools and they have processes to help you avoid the ditch or like shallow up that ditch so it doesn't seem so soggy.
Yeah. You just kind of dip into it instead of like fall face first.
Yeah, and like get stuck.
Yeah, it's gonna suck. I mean, because you're going through, it's gonna suck. It's just how can you make it suck less?
Yes. So it's like, okay, like my ankles are muddy versus like I'm in the bottom of like a dirty ditch with like a rotting carcass of a rat beside me. Like which path is more?
What a beautiful picture!
Which sucks less? I know. It's just, I'm a visual person.
Yes. But I think that's was, you know, in reading the comments for this specific person, was she was not trying to replace a mental health expert, right? She was trying to be a partner or an advocate, or, you know, in this case, a coach for the people who are in those places, like a member of the team, not the entire team. And I think that's a good way to kind of frame it. Is I've heard a lot of people talk really negatively about coaches across the entire industry, anything, profession, like coaches in general are bad because they're not XYZ. But I think in my experience recently, I've worked with several coaches who, there's one coach specifically who I worked with who literally saved my life on several occasions. But I also have a therapist, and I also have, you know, the people, I have a team of people around me, but the coach was specifically helpful because she had been in similar situations that I had been in, and we were able to relate on a different level and gave me tools and those types of things. And so I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, I just don't see it as a competition between like the experts and the coaches or that type of thing.
I honestly, I see it as complementary professions. I know therapists that have become coaches too, so just throwing that out there. You know, and I do understand why coaching gets a bad rap, because a lot of coaches are just internet marketers who sell stuff that isn't really effective. They just want to get people to enroll. They take their money, throw a whole bunch of stuff that they have to like figure out. And then when they're not successful, you know, there's like the whole like toxic positivity. And I think that there's like toxic mindsets that are out there. And it's like, oh, like you didn't succeed in my program because your mindset, you didn't succeed in my program because of this. And it's like, no, because there are real world barriers that clearly you were not equipped to help that person navigate.
Right.
So like, not all things are mindset. Reality still exists no matter how you try to gaslight yourself.
Yeah, right.
So I think like coaches, like I think that there are a lot of bad actors and it is new. There are certifying bodies. I personally have no certifications. So whatever I'm about to say is going to be very biased. My husband has certifications in coaching and I don't, and he doesn't do it full time, but whatever. But even then, like there's so many different, I think, styles to it. And the reason why I personally didn't do any certifications is that the function is very rigid. It's like you only ask questions, you can't give advice, you can't come in with your perspective. It's entirely like helping pull the inner knowledge out from people. And I think that is very helpful, especially in some situations. I don't always think that that's what people need. And I don't think it's the thing that I'm the best at. Yeah. So, but then it's just like, last year, how many people became coaches because they lost their jobs?
Yeah.
And that was like, oh, like I lost my job. So I'm going to become a coach now. Yeah, I'm going to become a consultant now. Yeah. Like, and what does that mean? And are you qualified to do it because you've been through it? Is something that I think is an interesting question as well.
Yeah, I think that would, there are many, okay. So when I first started when I brought in my third friend to the conversation of me becoming a coach, I have 3 friends now. I pay one of them to be my friend. It's fine. And so I said, I hear the things that I want to do. I have recently gone through a lot in my life where I've kind of torn down all these pieces, tried to figure out what aligns, what doesn't align, and then rebuilt my life to be, intentionally. And I really want to empower people to do that for their lives. Like, this is what I want to do. I want to empower people. I want to stand by them, walk with them through shitty situations. I want to make their life suck less. I want to be that coach that saved my life several times for someone else, right? I want to do that, but I don't want to be a coach. And he was like, you can call it whatever you want, but I'm gonna tell you things. And I was like, how do I not do that? And he was like, So, because he loves me and because I pay him to be my friend, he walked me down all these pathways of like, what would your role be? And how would you fulfill that role? And what would you blah, 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 da, 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 and walked me down this beautiful, glorious path through the woods. Do you know where that path led? Freaking coach. Freaking coach.
But notice, I don't really call myself a coach.
You're right. You don't.
I do call myself a career strategist. And to me, they're very different because a career coach is someone who helps you go and get a job.
Correct.
Now that has different levels of sophistication, precision, support.
Is that not like a recruitment person? Like a
recruiter? So a recruiter is the person who actually is like going and finding people. Career coach is like, it really like is the person who helps you create your resume, update your LinkedIn profile, prepare for your job interview. There's career coaches that really get into it and they're like, why are you awesome? And like, let's get you confident and all of that. Like, so there's like a big, some are surface level up here and some go really, really deep. Depends on who you're working with, what level and stuff like that. Whereas for me, a career strategist is like, I am someone who is like, it's a form of mentorship really. So it's a lot of the conversations that I have with my clients are the conversations that I had with my mentors and that I still have with the people that I mentor. And my mentors are not clients, they are separate individuals. But there for me tends to be a lot of overlap because you are coming in of filtering of this is my expertise. I understand how to evaluate the situation, help you navigate the situation, help you position yourself to actually grow in your career. Not just like, I don't like you getting a job is not my goal. You being successful in your career is the overarching thing that I want people to do and I try to focus on. So that's why I'm like, I'm not a coach. I am a strategist.
So
it's different for me. But yeah.
So what am I?
You are I was gonna say unsucker, but that sounds so bad.
Okay, you're gonna have to do better than that because that was terrible.
A de-sucking strategist.
I feel like we're just leaning to vacuum cleaner. Like, this is where we've landed.
I mean, you can, there's an emoji for it, though.
There's a vacuum cleaner emoji? I could just say,
I'm pretty sure
I hope your life sucks less with a little vacuum cleaner.
If there is a vacuum cleaner emoji, someone please put it into the comments.
And then, not a coach. That could be my title, not a coach. Just one word, not a coach.
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like it doesn't really matter what you call yourself in some regard. I think it matters for your kind of branding and profile optimization and kind of more tactical stuff. But to me, the actual job title doesn't ever matter. No one has ever hired me or chosen to work with me because of what I call them myself. They choose to work with me because what I provide.
Right.
And I prefer my job title to just be career bestie, but that's neither here nor there.
I thought that was your job title. I didn't even know that you had words such as wait, what was it? Strategist. I was going to say expert, and then I forgot.
It's in there. It is in there.
And I think Anna Maria says I could just be a friend for hire, so that would be fun. Eduardo says the life vacuum cleaner. I'll
hoover up your dreams.
You could be a career plumber.
This is, I was talking about fixing my shower, so we're not totally off. And I do have a knack for fixing toilets too. So,
do you help people? Define help. Define people. Yes, I'm gonna go with yes. So I was having a conversation with someone who is very much in the education space. So we were talking about the future of education. I'm gonna nerd out on that for a quick second, but it's relevant, I swear. So the future of education is that we don't know the future of education, that kind of concept. So we were discussing, there's a group that we're a part of, and we were discussing her and I are responsible for some of the strategy setting for this group that's moving education forward. And the conversation we were having was, we need to better understand about the purpose of the group so that we can then implement or create said strategy. Then we were discussing, what is the purpose of the group? Is the purpose of our group as this education thing to say, this is what education should look like? Or is it to say, these are our ideals and where we want to go, and we'll come alongside you to figure it out. And that's very similar to kind of my role, which has always been my role inside of education, right? My previous job, I had 75 employees, and it was always walking alongside them and saying, asking questions, right? Which would sometimes piss them off because be like, I would like an answer. And I'm like, I'm gonna help you find your own answer. And they're like, give me an answer, damn it. And I'm like, we're gonna find it together.
It's gonna be so fun.
It's gonna be great. You're gonna feel.
You don't have to like me, but I'm gonna help you.
It's totally. But in that conversation, we were discussing that she was asking me kind of how I made or kind of transitioned from, because my day job is education strategist. Honestly, I go into public, private, charter schools, legislation, whatever, and I work on strategy. We might be working on operations strategy. I might be doing leadership development training. With one company, I'm helping some of their teams play nicely together, all those types of roles. Because I've done it with 4-year-olds, so I can do it with adults. It's really the same conversation.
Same.
I use the same words. But we were discussing the overarching theme of education is that we want to move it forward And then in those cases, we need to have processes and strategies in place, of like legislation, whatever. And then underneath that, we need to make sure the students feel empowered to move forward and do these things and be who they are and blah, blah, blah. Well, in order to get there, we have to have the educators and the teachers be able to create that space for the students to get to that place and do these things, and parents. But in order for the educators, teachers, and parents to do those things, if we go a little bit deeper, they have to have a clear understanding of who they are and their experiences and their empowered life and all of that, so that then they can create this space. And, you know, so if you go all the way to the bottom level, it's really about, if I were to fix education, the way that I would go about fixing it would be to start at the base, which I believe is the educators, the parents, the people who are creating spaces for students. And unless these people are in an empowered space, like a mindset of their self-value, their self-worth, who they are, what's aligned with them, whatever, unless they are there in some way or another, they're never going to be able to create that for the students who then go upward from there. So all of that to say, I am fixing education by empowering others to be more of who they are and making their life suck less. And that, my friends, is how I like went down this, like, why aren't you, I thought you were fixing education. How did you end up working as a, not a coach? And I'm like, well, let's talk about education. I realized you didn't ask me that question, but I told you anyway, because I control the on and off button. And
so it's appreciated anyways. No, but like, this is like, I mean, you started asking like, how did you get here? But you didn't ask yourself that. So how dare you? You should really consider your interview skills.
I really do need to work on them. I just wing it.
No, and I think like anytime but you are going through like that transition as well. And you are starting to do this new thing. And people are like, but like, what? How? Like, what's going on here? So like, and the thing that I always say is to never assume that people know how to connect the dots, because they don't. And, you know, either they don't know how, like they're like me and they're very lazy. They're just not going to do it. Like there's so many different things that get in the way. So the more that we like explain and map for people, it's like, you know, I was doing all of these things, but like I can tell you like how my criminology degree relates to what I do now, like pulling out the themes and the things that are the same. And aside from like, you know, onion ring maker, like you're just a life ruiner. Like, can that just be your official title?
I think like, I really feel like that could be it. And then only people who find that interesting will work with me. And I mean, I think that's perfect.
It's a good filter for your people.
It really is. I mean, if you have not watched Snark Squad or the previous minutes of this episode, you may or may not find me abrasive.
You are not abrasive.
I have had people say, you're a bit much, Chelsea. Did you know that? Of course. Oh, that's a different, I will hold on to that statement, but remind me to tell you when we're no longer live.
Okay.
That'll be a good post-live statement. So, okay, to wrap up this whole conversation that we've had, if you were to like say why you are, hang on, like I want to pull words out of you, but first I have to find the words that I'm trying to say that then will then get the words out of you. All right. Okay. So I want you to clarify for our watchers, we're back to this voice again. Like, what does it mean? What value do you bring by being unqualified?
I mean, ultimately for me, when I decide to work with someone, I want someone who's been, okay, so actually no, let me do this. One of my core values is tenacity. It always is. It always has been. It's like how I will brute force my way through anything in order to make it happen. And I use this to qualify the people that I work with as well. Yeah. People that I hire, people like that I pay money to help and coach me. Like I want someone who is going to find their way around barriers. Yeah. And if you want someone who is going to be like, okay, how do we get over? How do we get under? How do we get around? That is who I am. Mm-hmm. if you're just like, oh, like, let's feel around for an open door, I'm not your person, because that is boring to me and I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So like, for me, that's like the main thing. But also, like, when I think about like the people, like, I filter the people that I personally, like, I'm working with 2 coaches right now, in addition to being in 2 other programs for different things. And the things that I look for is like, have you done it before? And have you already helped me? Because I've made the mistake and I've hired bad coaches before. And I will never make that mistake again. And the bad coaches, the consistency, like when I was like, okay, what is the same in these errors, was that I didn't know them, and they had fancy testimonials, but they hadn't helped me get any measurable results.
Right.
And so now I'm like, I'm only going to work with you if like you have content, you have videos, we have a relationship, you've done something that has helped move me from X to Y. It doesn't have to be huge. Just like, that made a difference. I didn't know that thing and I learned. Make that difference for me. And that's also who I try to show up as, because ultimately, if I can help you through free content that I produce for everyone, imagine what it's like if I actually just work with you and like answer your specific question for your specific situation. So that's like the 2 things for me, is like, that's to me what it comes down to. So like, it's up to you. Like, for some people, I'm completely unqualified and they have 0 interest in working with me. That's totally cool. They're not my people. Some people are like, you're qualified and you are, because you've studied it, lived it, whatever, or gotten me the result.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to, in the end, personal preference. Like, what is you get to choose who you want to work with. And if you want to work with, if it brings you peace and comfort and joy to work with someone who has a wall full of certifications, then 100% do that. Like, I think there's no competition. Like, I know that me personally, and I would say I'm not in competition with anybody. You know, if you feel more comfortable working over here with this person, I will walk you over there and help you get in line to work with that person. Like, that's who I am, because you're going to get, I mean, you need what you need, and everybody needs something different. And at the very baseline of it, if you don't feel comfortable working with someone who doesn't have 10 certifications for that specific thing, then you won't feel comfortable working with me. Let me find someone who you will feel more comfortable with, because you have to have that psychological safety as like the starting point, or nothing is going to matter.
Absolutely. And like, when you have those, like, if you have holdups over, it's just like hiring someone with a degree from a non-Ivy League. So contentious in the NYC startup world. It's like, if that's going to be something that bothers you, if that's going to be something that colors your vision of someone, then maybe you shouldn't do it. And then, like, my video today was explaining why you lost your job if you were laid off or you were fired. And I've been DMing with a few people who were let go from their jobs, and they're like, I feel like this is holding me back. And ultimately, good employers are going to know that it happens to everyone. Well, not everyone, but it happens to a lot of people. And especially in specific roles and at specific levels in your career, it's not an inevitability, but it's something that you're probably going to experience. So if you're going to write someone off for some experience that they had or some misalignment, like, you can't, then that's not your person anyway. And you don't want to go and work for that person. So like, know that the people that are qualified, like, that are saying you are unqualified, they're just never going to be the people that are going to accept the help, because they're going to get stuck on those things. And it's totally fine. There's like 0 judgment involved in that at all whatsoever. We all have our people. It's just about finding the person that you are confident is going to help you get the result that you want, or the change that you want.
Yeah. And I have a statement, and then I want to ask you this question. And I did figure out who the LinkedIn user was, so I can tell you that. But one of the statements that I made during that conversation with my paid friend about when I didn't want to be a coach was that, I'm not qualified to do this, and then we were having that conversation, which kind of spurred this whole situation that we find ourselves in now. But he asked me, when you started in education, were you qualified for that? And ironically, education is, you have to have education to work in education, which is good. That's a positive thing. But for the first 10 years of my career in education, I didn't have a degree. I had an associate's degree. And I didn't get a degree. I didn't finish my bachelor's in child development until 2019. And by that point, I had been in early education since 2006. And so I was literally working in education without an education, solely on experience, and had grown schools and taken new roles and done all of those things. And, you know, that was a good piece of that framed it for me, was I was able to do these things and impact the lives of other people without qualifications to do said things in an industry where qualifications matter. And I think that goes back to the people that I worked with, the parents that came to the school, that whatever, they chose to be there because they trusted the overall experience and me and my staff and all those types of things. So coach preference. But Martin asks, have you ever come across a client that you absolutely could not help improve?
I mean, so I can tell you the answer I would love to say, and then I'll tell you the real answer. So I would love to say I have a 100% success rate, and every one of my clients is now the CEO who is like off happy and has like a private jet, because wouldn't that be awesome?
Private jet.
The reality is, no, I can't help everyone. So for people that I work with in like on a one-to-one capacity, I filter heavily. So if there's any semblance of, I don't think I am your person, or we are not someone that will work well together, I'm pretty good at sniffing that out. And so that is definitely a higher rate. People that come through my courses, like, I can't do the work for you. I can't figure out your life for you. I can tell you some answers. So like the tactical strategies, I can tell you what to do. I cannot tell you it to you for you. I cannot tell you career clarity for you. I cannot tell you confidence for you when you're building it internally, because that's external validation, not internal. So of course, and it's because, you know, there's certain transformations that you go through, and sometimes people aren't ready for it. They thought they were ready. They're not ready. Some people are going to take a slower amount of time. So maybe they don't finish, like, if I'm running a 6-week program, like that's group coaching or a course, some people aren't going to do the whole thing in 6 weeks because they need to take their time with it. And then there's the people that are just going to get stuck and scared. And it's like, this is uncomfortable because transformation is not comfortable, and doing things differently than what the rules are, like breaking the rules and writing new rules, that's scary. And not everyone's ready to do it. Right. So like, I think the good thing for me is that pretty much everyone that I have worked with has hung out with me on my YouTube videos before. So they know who I am. They know my approach. They've gotten some level of results. So they like are generally good at self-selecting to me if like, I want to work with you. Often like for anything that is like personal interaction. That's the thing that I'm looking for. Like, I'm looking for, are you coachable? Are you accountable? Like, I had someone reaching out to me and they're like, tell me all the answers. Tell me where I can find this. Tell me where I can find that. Tell me where your resources are. I'm like, dude, I have an entire YouTube channel. And if you cannot self-serve this information, I have zero interest in working with you.
So 100%.
You like, I mean, it goes back to the tenacity. If you don't have tenacity, I am not going to be your person. I am going to piss you off. I hope that word is okay to say here. It's a mild curse word.
4 times. So
okay. So yeah, no, like I'm totally going to piss you off if that's the jam, because I'm going to get frustrated because if you are not willing to do anything for yourself, you're not going to succeed. It's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not. Then you need to find someone who's going to hold your hand and like just open up back doors for you. Work on those relationships instead, because my methods are not for you.
Yeah. And I really think that is the same for most effective coaching, is you have to come into it ready to do the work. I mean, because like, I know for me working with my coach, and I've worked with business coaches and relationship coaches and personal like empowerment development, stuff like that. So I've worked in different spaces, but all the time it was questions more. I mean, I can't think of one of them who said, here's the answer, go and be well. And I remember wanting to punch them in the face, like, tell me, darn it, what? They were like, no, let's talk about it. Like, I don't want to freaking talk about it. But you have to go into it. Like, I had to almost, by the time one of my coaches really made an impact, I had to reach a breaking point personally. Like I had to reach that point where it was like, okay, like this is it. It's all or nothing. I can't do this anymore. I have to experience a change in this. And so I think, to speak to that question for Martin, in generalities is, and to be really annoying, you can't help people who aren't ready to help themselves. Like, I know that really sucks. I hate that cliche concept, but it's really accurate. First, to some degree, you have to hit that level of, I cannot go back. Like, I'm ready to do whatever I need to do to get from here, and I can't go backwards. So how are we going to do that together? And it's this co-constructivism, like I talked a lot in education, is the coach and the person are coming alongside each other to co-construct a path forward. Not the coach is going to construct it for you, and then all you have to do is walk along this pretty path that's been made for you, and everything's beautiful and rainbows and butterflies. I think it's you're doing the work together, but you have someone co-constructing alongside you instead of having to do it on your own.
Absolutely. Yeah. I broke this down for in the webinar I did about toxic job recovery. And there's a process, but what's relevant here is that, so the first 2 steps, first, when you're in a toxic workplace, you're probably in denial. So you're like, it's not that bad. It's going to change. It's just me. You're giving yourselves all of the excuses. At some point you get to the next stage, which is awareness. So you're like, okay, this is problematic, and I probably can't tolerate that anymore. Now, when you're ready for it, you're going to move into the next phase, which is release. That's where you start to let go. You get out of the job. We start dropping the baggage, the limiting beliefs, the toxic behaviors, all of that stuff comes in that phase, comes from release onward. But that's not the way that most people go. Where most people spend some time, and I think it's necessary, and I do not judge it at all, because readiness is really key, like Chelsea just said, is they end up cycling back from awareness back into denial.
Yeah.
Because that's an easier place to live. Status quo, no matter how much you want change, your brain does not want change. And your subconscious and your amygdala, it's perception of danger. There's all of these things going on neurologically, brain science, blah, blah, blah. But you end up having to go through there. And I truly believe that it is at the point that you get to awareness and you're just like, it is not tolerable. I can no longer cycle back into denial. Because the risk for me to go back into denial and to loop again is too great. I'll tell you guys, I had an enrollment period for the program, and we talked all about the toxic loop. People knew exactly what it was. They know the process. They know what to do. And there's people that didn't enroll because they weren't ready. It just timing and blah, 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 blah. But I even had people message me. They're like, I'm just not ready for it yet. I had people enroll and send me a request they're like, you know what? I'm not ready. I don't have time, and I'm taking the excuse.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? If you're not ready for that yet, then this is not the place for you. And do the loop. And this is here. And maybe this is a thing that you need to escape the loop later. But or you need someone else in some other system and all of that stuff. But you are going to try to rationalize it. And that is a normal stress response, especially when you are going through any level of traumatic life event, which I know trauma is a big scary word, but we're just going to use it anyway.
I'm actually training on trauma tomorrow, so we can we'll come back to that later.
So put a pin in that, come back here. What time tomorrow? Let's just get into the plug.
we'll just go ahead and talk. Yeah, we'll just schedule. We'll pencil that in. It'll be fine.
But yeah, no, I mean, and you can't, the thing is when someone is in that loop, whether it's in their relationship, it's at work, it's in their self-definition, if it's in their business, until they are committed to getting out of that loop, they will vacillate between it. And it sucks when you're someone who's trying to help them because you want to pull them out, but it's like jumping into a severe undertow when you don't know how to swim. It's just going to take you both down.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is hard. And I think, just to reiterate that point, going into, I know for me, one thing that my coach said to me when I started working I worked with an empowerment coach. And because I was dealing with some really, really hard things, wrapped up in anxiety and depression and suicidal ideation and just all kinds of things happening in my life. And I needed someone to work through with that. And one thing she said to me that really, resonated with me through our conversations was essentially what you were talking about. Like, I am not the person, if you're looking for someone who's just going to pick you up out of your problems and set you on, the clean place right over there.
Magical fairies,
right?
That swoop in riding unicorns.
I mean,
and they bring you across the rainbow.
Pick you up and bring you over here and everything's fine. But it's not. The way that she described it was more like, I am willing to jump off that cliff with you and find out what the bottom looks like, feels like, sounds like, and then we'll walk through those thorns together and then see what the other side looks like. And for me, when I first started circling this idea for myself, it was, and I put it on a post somewhere, it was like, I don't know what the light at the end of your tunnel looks like. I don't even know where your tunnel is. Like, I don't know like how long it would take to find the light. I don't know if the light is going to be like a train or a lightning bug. Like, I don't know, but I'm willing to find that tunnel and walk into it with you. Yeah. If you're willing to find that tunnel and walk into it, I'm not going to pull you in there. And I think that was a big thing. Like, coaches, therapists, psychiatrists, whoever, are not magical. You have to have a level of tenacity that you're bringing to it as well, and be willing to jump off that cliff of whatever you're experiencing. And it's hard. And then you jump off the cliff and you're like, how do I get back up? I need to get back off the cliff.
It takes trust in yourself. It takes trust in the people that are supporting you through their transition. It takes trust that the chips are going to fall where they're supposed to fall, and then it's going to be better on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and there's going to be, like, I know with me and in other people that I've worked with, and when I was mentoring inside of Workspace even, there's like, oh yeah, let's do this. Day one, jumping off the cliff. Day two, you're falling down. You're like, this is the stupidest thing that I have ever done. If someone doesn't pull me back up that cliff, I blame you for making me jump off this cliff. Like, and realize that it's going to come in waves and experiences and emotions, and like feelings are for feeling and all of those types of things. Like, you're going to think it was a bad choice several times along the way. But just continuing that. And that's where, my whole mindset, the whole what could go wrong mindset is, if you do all the fun things that could go wrong, eventually some of those wrong things end up being the right things. And that's fun when that works out that way.
Delightful surprise.
A delightful surprise. That looks more like a unicorn than I thought it would.
There's at least like a little bit of a glitter on it, the magic sauce.
Yeah. So anyway, for me, it's about, that's why when I talk about like helping you make your life less sucky or empowerment or whatever, it's not, my tagline would never be, let me fix your problems. I can fix your life for you. Here's your 10 steps to a brand new life. I think that's the stupidest thing. And if someone's saying that to you, I would say
not work with them.
Maybe not participate in that. But don't give them your money. That's just my theory.
Unless it's like a 5-year commitment, in which case, and like tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay, then maybe it's a realistic expectation. But like, if someone's like, I'm going to change your life in 6 weeks, like, I know it's like marketing speak and we're supposed to use it, but like, set some reasonable expectations so people know what they're buying.
Yeah. Can we not do that?
Yeah. That would just be a treat if we can just stop that.
Right? I would have been a coach. Well, I feel like if that were true, if I could change somebody's life in, 6 weeks or less for $29.99, like, I'm very rich by now and have like a whole cult following of people who I've changed their lives and they now worship me. Is that weird?
Yeah.
That's weird, right? It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like the Forex trader who told me in 8 years, he's never lost any money on a client's portfolio at any point. And I was like, really? Because I feel like you wouldn't need to be cold messaging people on LinkedIn if that was the case.
8 years, never lost any money?
Not a cent.
Isn't there like a risk? Like, That's a different, we'll just put that in a pile over there.
It's another rant for another day.
So like, what has been, you kind of jumped off your own cliff, right, to figure this out and do this for yourself. And now you're working with clients and doing all of these lovely things, right? You're living the dream, as it were.
Living the dream.
You're totally living the dream. Just go with it. So like, what has been your takeaway from being able to kind of walk through this on your own with your coaches and then walk other people through these experiences? Like, what does that feel like for you?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that I took away, and we talked about this the other day, is like, you know, you venture into entrepreneurship and you're like, it's fine. I don't like people anyway. I'm an introvert. Like I always worked with teams, and working completely by myself, I was just like, okay, maybe this is a little too isolating, but then also not having people to tap into. And like, I have a pretty big network, like in the corporate space, but like the struggles are just very different and the aspirations are very different. And there's something that I say all the time, and I feel like this applies to everyone, no matter what your choosing path is that success is never solitary. So find people who have similar goals. Like, they're on LinkedIn, no matter what your track is, but like, start to make friends with people who have similar visions for their life as you, because they are going to understand the things that you go through in ways that other people are just never going to get. Like I said on Snark last week, like, I can celebrate and complain about the most absurd things with Chelsea and Kevin, and they get it. Two friends. So it's like, you know, like having just people that are your peers. You're not, again, like, I don't believe in competition. I compete with zero number of people, like, except for the one person who started stealing my branding. And like, I'm not in competition, but like, if they just like didn't exist anymore, I probably wouldn't complain. Anyways, so, but then also like the other thing is, and I think especially for people that want to be coaches specifically, like, you cannot be a coach, in my opinion, if you are not investing in yourself on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
So this is like a thing. And I know coaches that are like, I've spoken to, like, I spoke to one recently and I was like, oh, like this thing that you need, it's this like course. It's like, great. It's everything that you're asking about. And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, but you're going to spend a year banging your head against the wall. So I've gotten good at being like, okay, this is like my highest need and my highest priority. So I'm going to put money to get support there.
Yeah.
And it's different things at different points in the journey. So getting like to that self-awareness that I think we were talking about before the live started, but like the more that you can figure out, like, do a needs analysis, like come in from a corporate perspective and be like, what do I actually need? What does this look like? And find the people that can help. Like right now, I'm working with Jacob because I need help to get over the whole fear of success thing. That's, you know, an ongoing theme for me. And also to, you know, get confidence to start hiring people to help me, because I shouldn't be doing all of the things that I'm doing and I'm exhausted and overwhelmed, which I complain about all the time behind the scenes as well. And then I was working with Doug because I'm good at LinkedIn, but I wasn't great at LinkedIn. And I was like, if I work with Doug, I'm going to be great at LinkedIn. So, you know, find the people. And like, often it's not going to be to do the things that you're not good at. Find people that are going to help you amplify the things that you are good at.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, that's so fancy. What a lovely like tagline you just created. And I think I saw this meme the other day that said something like, never date a guy who doesn't have a therapist or something like that, right? Like, only date guys with therapists. Okay. And I would say, you know, never work with a coach who isn't also working on themselves. Like, if they're not in some way investing into themselves through therapy or coaching or something, and maybe don't ask them that directly. Like, what's the name of your therapist? Maybe not that, but I think
maybe not therapist, but like, I think it's a fair question to ask. Like, what coaching programs are you in?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how are you challenging yourself? How are you betting yourself? Because, and I had this conversation the other day, it was in the education space, but if we only ever put ourselves either with ourselves or with people, like a bunch of mirrors, then you're never going to see anything different than that. You're never going to be challenged. You're never going to grow. And then, you know, what are you really bringing to the table? And that's, you know, a different problem. So I think just as you shouldn't date a boy who isn't in therapy, That's my life advice for today. You're welcome. I saw it on Instagram, where
Write it
all
down,
the
folks.
information comes from. Surprisingly, not TikTok, so I'm sure it's there somewhere. But I think working with a coach or whoever, it's important that they are also working on themselves, because there is like a burnout from the coach's side. Like compassion fatigue is a real thing, and working in that space, and being able to recover from helping other people and then go back into it is a real thing too. Yes. And if a coach doesn't manage that for themselves, then they're going to end up yelling at somebody, which probably won't end well.
Eduardo now has a new first date question.
Dead. Yeah. Right. I think it's great. Be like, how are you? Who's your therapist? How long have you been in therapy? Have you recognized all of your childhood traumas yet? Great.
Let's discuss what they are, like in detail.
Can you talk about them with me? What are your triggers? Do you know how to cope with that? I just have so many questions. I just don't understand that. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I think we have covered all of the reasons why we are unqualified, and such a plethora, a smorgasbord, if you will, of
so many avenues of being unqualified.
So many unqualified avenues of all of that. I will, Kevin, give them a questionnaire. Please list your therapist, your childhood traumas, your biggest triggers, how you're coping with your childhood traumas. Describe your level of self-awareness on a scale of 1 to 10. If you check a 10, then we know that means 0. Like I have.
Oh, you can make it like a doctor's office. So you can also ask for their insurance information, make sure that they have healthcare.
Yes.
Also important.
That's important because unlike Canada, healthcare's stupid.
It's a big deal. And let's face it, then you can dig in. Do they have good benefits? Is this person marriage material? Because if they don't have good benefits, let's face it, we can just unqualify them right there.
Oh, so if a coach sends you a questionnaire, like, let's work together, I have some questions for you, you could be like, great, let's work together. I have some questions for you too.
Absolutely.
Here's my questionnaire. Just turn that right back around. It's going to be great. I think it's completely logical.
No, I mean, like when you're choosing to work with a coach, you're hiring them. And like Kevin can echo, like you are never going to show up to a job interview without asking questions to them, and they're going to ask you questions. It's got to be bi-directional. If it's non-bi-directional, that is a red alert flag, in my opinion, for what that's worth.
If a coach will not answer a question, that seems very concerning.
Yeah.
Oh, and look, Kevin's throwing in his own, like, do that on interviews too. I think I've seen a LinkedIn post about that somewhere from 200,000 people.
At least one of them was from Kevin.
That's true. That's true. And we have a good description in here of what qualified means. It should mean, do you have the skills and expertise or not? But in today's time, it means, are you from an Ivy League or not? Do you have a 10 GPA? Are you an American citizen? I think that, that's kind of what we've been discussing through this, like the different levels of qualification. And I think to sum it all up, it's really what you're comfortable with and who you trust and, what you're willing to engage in. It's up to you, man. It's up to you. So what we're saying is, it's really not our responsibility at all. It's all yours.
It's all on you. Whether you think we're qualified or not, we've answered nothing. That's the point.
All we've done is ask questions and told you.
Because we're coaches and the answers come from within and not external. So we're ending right
where the point is. You're welcome for this whole thing. I'm glad you joined us and we were able to bring such clarity to your day. We have 0 answers for you. It's all on you. So figure it out and don't mess it up, because then you're just wasting money and you'll feel more sad than when you started. And if that happens, then come hang out with Jenny or I, and we will give you no answers too.
But like we could have a virtual drink or something.
Oh yeah. I like that. We did figure out my LinkedIn headline. Wait, what was it? There's something about
life ruiner.
Life ruiner, making your life suck less. A vacuum cleaner. Wait, did we ever decide if there's a vacuum cleaner emoji?
No one dropped it in. So either I was mistaken or there is not. So this is, I guess, maybe going to be something that we need to fact check. when we're not live on the internet anymore.
I'll work on that. I mean, I know people want to know what our internal life looks like. Probably not. Okay. On that note, this was episode 1 of We Are Unqualified. On Thursday, Ariel's coming to hang out. We're going to talk about all the reasons that Ariel's unqualified. So that's exciting. And we're just going to make it like a whole thing because why not?
Because nobody's qualified and everyone's qualified. Both. It's like Schrodinger's cat. Is it dead? Is it alive? Who knows? Let's look in the box and figure it out.
Reality is a lie and time doesn't exist.
True.
On that note, we need that was awkward slide. We need that Snark Squad slide, and we're just gonna throw it up there. Well, that was awkward, and then turn the stream off. Ending streams is the worst. I don't know the best way to make this happen. I'm just gonna make it awkward and then make it end.
It's like a first date.